now go on to our third awe-inspiring session of our leadership development program. The experts who have created a niche for themselves in this ophthalmic industry. We have with us on the expert panel our very eminent personality, Dr. R.D. Ravindran, one major pillar of Arvind Eye Care Systems, whose surgical standards and administrative skills have had him spearheading the initiation of many of the bigger centers in their evolutionary days. He has been a sterling example for his younger team to follow on his footsteps and the right person to lead us in this session. We have with us Dr. Mohan Rajan, an immensely known popular figure, a leader of ophthalmology for his skill sets, his surgical acumen, his entrepreneurial efforts, his motivational leadership forays, which has him as the main news item of Chennai newspaper amidst us today. Don't you think so, Dr. Mohan? We have with us our past president, Dr. Natarajan, who evolved this concept of a leadership development program and is known for his motivational talks, an internationally known figure in every nook and cranny of the globe, and is a man of all seasons. We have with us Dr. Ajay Paul, who has combined surgical excellence with a great humanitarian spirit. And we have with us Anaga Harur, member ARC West, a multi-talented, ambitious, running a very successful eye hospital in Mumbai, flanked with a highly energetic woman force, a steely strength behind that charming smile, who's going to be co-moderating with me. So today, to adorn
your audio is breaking.
Voice is breaking, huh? Anaga, you heard all the things I said.
Voice is breaking.
I heard. A very good afternoon to all of you. Very warm welcome to all of you.
And today, to adorn this session, are two stalwart speakers, our president, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, who wrote the history of what leadership as a president meant in these troubled times, and Dr. Ramurthy, the past president of AIOS, with a grip, drive, and leadership flavor of his own in this 10-year stint with AIOS in major portfolios. Is Dr. Mahipal with us? Has he joined?
No, madam, I'm calling him. He is about to join.
Is about to join. Should we, is Ramurthy there?
Yeah, I am around.
Yeah, you cannot see Ramurthy.
No, I'm there.
No, I know, I can see you, Ramu.
Okay.
Chitra cannot see you.
No, it is just that Mahipal is in some management meeting. He wanted to just come.
I'm switching in 2-3 laptops and coming here.
Shadi, Srinivas, have you got to talk to Mahipal?
No, sir. No, madam, he's not picking it up, but I have messaged him.
Okay.
Ma'am, would it be possible to go with this?
So I would ask, yes?
I'm problem with the audio.
Go with the second speaker first?
Yes, that's what we'll do. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Some problem with the audio.
Natarajan has to mute, maybe. Yeah.
Dr. Natarajan?
And Mohan.
And I would be very much obliged if you keep everybody on mute when our speakers talk, because there was a lot of disturbance when Dr. Gulapalli Rao was talking. So I think since Dr. Mahipal is getting a little delay, I would look forward to Dr. Ramurthy taking his talk. And he's going to give us a very realistic, relevant, big picture of how to stay relevant in industry at his viewpoint. On to you, Dr. Ramurthy.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra and ARC for this wonderful invitation. I think apart from the stalwarts who are in the panel, there are quite a few youngsters who might be listening in. So my talk is essentially directed towards them and staying relevant in this industry. Just now you heard a couple of wonderful talks which mentioned about how to come up, how to establish an institution. My talk is going to be how to stay there. I think these are the icons of yesterday, which we grew up. I mean, Kodak was almost synonymous with camera technology, and it was 1975.
I'm not able to see a screen.
Sorry?
Your screen is not seen. Have you shared? You have slides.
In our screen, we're not able to see a screen.
You have to start sharing your screen.
Just 1 minute.
Ramurthy does not want to share with you, Chitra. Yeah, we can see now.
Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can see. Yes, yes.
Okay, I hope my timer is reset.
No,
Okay,
it won't be.
so,
Mahipal is not going to come, so you can talk.
Of course, he would come. Yeah.
so as I was mentioning, my topic is on staying relevant in the industry. One of the aspects is to get up there and then how to stay there. These are the icons that we grew up with in the late 1990s, 1980s. The Kodak camera was almost synonymous with camera technology. But then they also came up with the digital technology in the year 1975. But what the company management advised the engineers to keep quiet about it because they were short-sighted and they were focused on selling films. BlackBerry was a sign of a successful businessman in the 1990s, but now they themselves are out of business. We never mentioned the word photostat, it was always Xerox. But where are they now? Disappeared. Yahoo had an opportunity to buy up Mark Zuckerberg in 2006, but just because there was a difference of a few $1 million, Zuckerberg did not sell. They almost combined with Google, and if we had done that, maybe we'd be Yahooing now and not Googling, but they are no longer in the scene. This is as far as the general scenario is concerned. It is said that 88% of the Fortune 500 firms that existed in 1965 are gone today. They're either bankrupt, they're merged with somebody, they're existing now, but of a much smaller profile that they're unnoticeable. And only 30% of family businesses make it to the second generation, and only 13% make it to the third. With this kind of a background, as far as the general scenario is concerned, let's come to the specifics of ophthalmology alone. I think as life expectancy is expanding, the expectancy of these companies are shrinking. And for ophthalmic institutions to remain alive and thriving, it's important that they remain vigilant, innovate, and future-proof themselves against businesses that are coming up to compete. So these are the points that I want to make. These are the mantras that I have stayed with, and that's what I'm going to emphasize with. Aristotle Onassis, whose claim to fame is not just about getting married to Jacqueline Onassis Kennedy, but also the fact that he was one of the most successful shipping tycoons, said this: the secret of business is to know something that nobody else knows. You might see these nice looking ladies in the front, but the one who would remember from this is the lady at the back, simply because she's different. I realized much early in my career that it's important that you differentiate yourself. Almost 35 years back when I started my practice, when I put up a street lamp in the small town of Tirupur, it came in the papers because that was a novelty. And when we put up a fundus camera, bought a gag laser, then the deputy chief minister of that time actually came to inaugurate. It's because it was something that was not available. People had to go from Coimbatore to Madurai or Chennai for getting these things done. And we could differentiate ourselves. And when we went on to buy a Argan green laser, it entailed a trip to Germany, a big inaugural function, and quite a few diabetologists turned an eye to us because they thought, finally, we have somebody who can take care of the diabetic patients as far as eye care is concerned. I know RDR is there, and their wonderful institution, the behemoth Arvind Eye Care System, came to Coimbatore in the year 1996. And some of my friends were telling me, are you going to leave your practice? Are you going to come away from Coimbatore? Because they thought nobody can survive and Madurai is there. That's exactly the year we took a decision to go ahead and invest in $500,000 in a LASIK technology. Today, that might be commonplace, but at that point of time, it was somewhat unheard of for a couple who were just in the beginnings of the practice to go ahead and invest in this expensive technology. But that's exactly what we did, but that helps us to differentiate. It's not just the laser patients who came to us for correcting refractive errors, but because of our ability to offer something more, patients came across for taking care of the cataracts, the diabetic retinopathy, the simple refractive error. And since then, there has been no turning back. You have established yourself, you feel you are comfortable, you want to live a good family life. But I believe satisfaction leads to stagnation. So never let your passion for growth die. And it's growth which essentially makes you survive. It's growth that is necessary for making you stay where you are. So this is our curve as far as cataract and refractive surgery is concerned. Though LASIK with Hansetome was quite successful, was bringing in good number of patients to us, we decided to go ahead and invest in further technology, got the wavefront guided technology, got the femtosecond lasers, and recently the RELX technology. What I found is that it's not the number of eyes that we are doing is increasing. It's stationary as far as our primary center is concerned. But essentially, it's the patients who are getting converted to higher and higher procedures. Almost 80% of them are today opting for a femtosecond laser technology. And that's something that we have come to enjoy. And that's important for us to stay relevant. If you are stuck on to just the LASIK with Hansetome, just because we are comfortable with us and there are enough takers for that, I'm sure we would have been overtaken long back. Coming across our cataract segment is as such, we have a habit of tracking 6 weeks refractive outcomes as far as cataract surgery patients are concerned. It's not a huge study I'm referring to, but my own personal refractive outcomes in the year 2006, as you can see, when I was using immersion A-scan and SRKT formula, this was absolutely acceptable to me. This is a day's cataract surgery because you can see that it's 6669 best corrected visual acuity. It's totally all right for me to once in a while get a patient with a -2 refractive error residual, or not even toric lenses were just in the horizon, and we're still just getting used to the idea per se. Come over to the year 2015, and as you can see over here, I was using a Varion, the IOL Master, and the Holiday 2 formula. And essentially what we found was that we were very focused as far as our uncorrected visual acuity was concerned, which was mostly in the 6669 region. But then as far as the near visual acuity is concerned, it was perfectly all right to go ahead and prescribe them a pair of glasses because that was all that was done. That was all that was necessary. And fast forward to the year 2021, of course, now we are fairly jobless, but in the March 2021, we are quite busy. And mind you, this is not the list for my entire hospitals, but just my own list on a particular day. And as you can see over here, many of these procedures had a LRCS done. Many of them had a PanOptix, a trifocal, a multifocal, Synergy. Some, of course, opted for a aspheric single piece combined with a trabeculectomy. But please concentrate on this best corrected near visual acuity, the uncorrected near visual acuity. And you would find that quite a few of them enjoyed vision without glasses for all distances. And that's what my patients were aspiring for. And it was extremely important for me to stay relevant, to graduate myself. It's not that my technology had undergone a sea change from what I was doing in 2006 to 2021, but the capacity to deliver the kind of outputs that my patients requested for is what enabled us. It is not as if we concentrate only on the high-end segment of the surgeries. We have almost 60 surgeons across different centers, and there are a definite number of people who are offering cataract surgery at zero cost. So when a patient comes to me inquires as to what's the cost of surgery in your place, is right from 0 to 1,75,000. So unlike Devashish, who just spoke prior to us, my concept is to cut across the whole spectrum, offering the patient who walks into the portals of our institution whatever they expect. This was where we started out in Tirupur. Even this middle segment was not there. This was where I was living, and this was a small clinic. I used to charge 300 rupees for a cataract surgery and go elsewhere to do my cataract surgery. I don't have that photograph. This was subsequent to the small hospital coming up. But then we went on to build up a hospital in Coimbatore. People thought, why am I doing this? I'm quite comfortable in Tirupur. There are a fair number of patients coming, and I don't have any deaths. But then they said that Coimbatore is too big a place for you. You have to travel. There will be too many difficulties. Can anybody remember when the times were not hard and money was not scarce? I believe most often you go with your gut feeling. You go with what exactly you want to achieve in your life. And that's what leads you on. And today we are spread across 12 centers, almost 300,000 square feet, dedicated completely to eye care. I am not saying that this is the path each and everyone has to take, but I am no different from any one of you. Dr. G.N. Rao is inspiring. Dr. Badrinath is inspiring. Dr. Venkat Samy is inspiring. But they are all people made of the same blood, flesh, and bones as you and me. What sets them apart is the vision, is the passion, is the way they're not limited by their dreams. They aim for the skies and end up achieving there. It's not just that it's possible only in mega towns. My presence itself is in more of Western Tamil Nadu. You see all these smaller centers in Barakpur, in smaller towns, huge centers in small towns, Barakpur, Dehradun, Chitrakoot, Jorat, Udupi, all of them made a niche for themselves. And I strongly believe the fortune lies not just at the top of the pyramid, at the bottom of the pyramid also, irrespective of whether you're talking about the kind of people you are catering to or the kind of place where you're situated in. The glory is not in never failing, but raising every time you fail. I've learned something from every failure of mine. The third center I put up was in a place called Pattambi, which had in Kerala, which had a good multi-speciality hospital. We took up the eye department, ran it for 2 years, but realized that it was not our cup of tea. Patients were not just coming, especially except for the first flush of patients that you see on the first day. The doctor was not so good. We are not quite comfortable with what we are doing there. We just cut our losses and came back. It was a very good learning experience to me because it told me as to what exactly I should not be doing in my career, in my professional lifetime. And that's the lesson that has stood me in good stead for a very long time. I think this is perhaps the most important slide of my presentation, where I say that the secret of life is honesty and fair dealing. If you can stick to that, you have got it made. All the panelists who are here, all those who spoke to us, I believe are there where they are, simply because for them, integrity mattered a lot more. When you're spending a lot of money, when you're acquiring buildings, when you're acquiring personnel, equipment, you're often attracted towards making shortcuts. But in case you claim to be implanting a single piece lens and implant a simple monofocal lens, an Indian monofocal, obviously your OT technician is watching you. He's going to be in his mind as to why not I cheat this boss. So obviously you have to be constantly aware of the fact that you're being watched by your peers, your patients, your relatives, your wife, your children, and you have to lead by example. And I believe that whatever success that we have achieved in this lifetime is essentially because that we have placed honesty and integrity at a great premium. It's also said that whenever you think that you have made the ends meet, somebody moves the ends. This is the kind of FACO emulsification platforms that I have accessible to me. I have not got rid of even a single one of them unless they stop working. Each time I have got upgraded to a further instrument, I have made sure that the earlier instrument is appropriately put to use. Today, it's difficult to acquire technology, acquire the kind of equipment that is available to us. And it is important that we pick and choose what is absolutely right for our particular scenario and then build upon it. And it's also important as to differentiate what's important to you and what is not. These are the kind of refractive technologies that I concentrated on. I had a deep look at it, the conductive keratoplasty, the AccuFocus, the intracore, the sterile expansion segments, etc. But then fortunately for me, I did not take them up because they all failed over time. So essentially somebody has said that the best way to double your money is to fold it up once and put it in your pocket. There are also situations when you take a decision not to go forward and acquire a particular technology. It's not the equipment, it's not the buildings that I have that I feel is responsible for whatever little growth we have achieved. It's essentially the 600-odd team that we have been able to put together, 60-odd consultants who believe in me, who share the common goal and the vision that we have. That is extremely important for me. And mind you, this photograph was taken about 10, 12 years back when it's a much smaller unit. But suffice it to say that each and every individual in this particular institution has a vision of their own for themselves, their dream for themselves. And it's not just monetary. As far as you're able to address it, as far as you're able to realize, help them realize their dreams, what they hope for their families, often they are devoted to you and they end up contributing to your growth finally. Essentially, this is the kind of team that I have as far as consultants are there. We rely a lot on the optometrists. All the basic workup is done for them. We run a course in fellowship in optometry. We have more than 100 of them working with us across branches. And I believe they're extremely contributory as far as the growth is concerned. It's just a snapshot of the kind of employees that we have across our centers. I think it's most important for you to realize, for your staff to realize that no matter how large your company is, treat customers as if your survival depends on them. Today, Hospitals are not considered as temples. We are considered as service providers. Patients walk into the portals of a hospital acquiring a certain quality of treatment. It is not just the few minutes spent under the operating microscope, but it's the entire experience that counts. And we ensure that each and every one of our staff is leveraged, is made to perform, made to meet these expectations. It's not the major procedures that alone matter, but customers won't give you large orders if you can't take care of handle small ones. There have been situations when power glasses has been prescribed to a 10-year-old, but the parents insist on speaking to me in the midst of a busy OPD. It's somewhat upsetting that they want to waste my time, but I always take my time to spend those few minutes with them, explaining to them it's not the end of the world. The child just needs a pair of glasses. Once she is 18 or 19 years old, we'll do a simple procedure to get rid of it. Go ahead, she can do everything that she was doing. And that gives them the confidence. And that father brings his elder daughter for LASIK, his father for a cataract surgery, his uncle for treatment of diabetic retinopathy. I think addressing the entire spectrum of diseases that come to your doorstep is extremely important. Pay peanuts and you get monkeys. This is something I strongly believe in. Whether it's infrastructure, whether it's equipment, whether the quality of consumables, you have to pay the right price. Converse is not true in the sense that just because you are paying a high price doesn't mean that you're going to get high quality. Essentially, balancing high quality with the right price is the challenge to every practice. And as far as you achieve that equilibrium, you have made a success of your practice. On the other hand, you have to make your patients also realize that. Whenever a patient comes to me asking for a cataract surgery, as I already mentioned, we offer the entire spectrum. If the patient wants laser cataract surgery with a multifocal toric implantation and is looking for a large concession, I tell him that we have other options to you. Please go for that. It's not that you're not going to be able to see. This comes at a particular price. It's not that I do not offer them some concession because that's goodwill, 3,000, 2,000, 5,000 rupees. But at the same time, I ensure that my patients understand that when we are offering them a certain treatment at a certain price, it's the price that they are paying for the quality. And in case they want downgrade themselves, if they want to go for something which is less expensive, but at the same time equally effective, they have a choice to do so. It's extremely important that we move with the times and update, not just as far as ophthalmology is concerned, but as far as infrastructure is concerned. There was already some conversation about EMR. We had the EMR about 7 years back. Now we have the Chrome technology. It's not just for the higher end centers that you need this. Even an individual practice needs this. But with this, I'm able to track each and every patient who comes across, gets treated in any center. And with a simple card, they can take their treatment in any center and all their records are accessible. So gone are the days when these huge MRD file rooms were there. A lot of time was spending for searching out the files. Today, you have these rack servers with sophisticated technology. It's possible to get it at the right price. Hospital management system is also extremely important so that we exactly are able to track what kind of revenue, making sure that each aspect is a profit center. At least we are able to control the kind of money that we are losing. Even in these difficult times, we're able to plan ahead and decide as to minimize the kind of damage that we cause to our patients, to our staff. We support our staff almost entirely right through this pandemic. It is because we were confident enough that once things pick up, we are able to jump back and we are able to make enough money to make up for whatever losses we suffered during the time. It's extremely important we track your each and every individual, irrespective of the fact that they might be the best of individuals. There is always a tendency for certain laxity. So as far as HR and attendance is concerned, there are again systems that needs to be in place. I already mentioned about accounts and turnover and the importance that tracking that absolutely, even not only on a day-to-day basis, but even on a yearly basis is extremely important, irrespective of the size of the organization. Security is again becoming more and more an issue today. And we have CCTV cameras checking almost each and every critical area in every center of ours. And sitting in the primary center, anybody can watch what's going on. And that is in record for a couple of weeks. It has helped us to identify several small mishaps that happen, several unnecessary happenings, and we are able to rectify that. And the fact that such a facility is available itself diminishes the kind of mishaps from happening. Ease of communication is extremely important. We have this kind of video conferencing regular classes, not only for consultants, but for postgraduates, even for optometrists. But pandemic, if nothing else, has taught us this. And today it's the Zoom calls. We are all sitting in our homes and able to enjoy this beautiful conference. I'm sure that the way we communicate to each other, the way we spread the message across is going to completely change in the years to come. My final pearl is get better or get beaten. I think you stay relevant because you are getting better day by day. I do not compete with the ophthalmologists around me. I have no control over what they do, what kind of machines they purchase, or what kind of people they employ. What I am looking at is what I was doing 3 years back, 2 years back, last year. Is my opticals doing better? Is my number of cataract surgeries improving? Is the visual outcomes better? How many papers did we publish as an institution? As far as I'm able to measure up in each and every one of these metrics, I believe I'm growing up. I am staying relevant. My institution is staying relevant. Change is tough, but the only alternative to change is eventual obsolescence. And that's exactly what happened to my dear friends, to the initial few organizations that I showed you in the first slide. So adapt to change, adapt to staying relevant. Thank you so much.
Very much, Ram, for taking us through our entire gamut of industrial challenges, sustaining ourselves in the ophthalmic industry. I'm going to actually move a little away from this. Another issue which you didn't discuss too much, like in the process of staying relevant to the industry, Dr. Mohan, I would want you to take this, and Dr. RDR to also give your thoughts. In the process of being relevant in the industry, sometimes what we tend to do is start getting more equipments than is what is necessary, start getting whole batch of intraocular lenses because different companies promise a little more, a little extended vision or eye-hands lens and different things. Does it make sense to have a clutter of products around us which are nearly similar, or would you think it makes sense to identify exactly one for each particular way of vision enhancement or equipment for one, rather than having so many, just to stay relevant to an industry, to be popular in the industry, and to be known to have all the gadgets about you? Your thoughts, Dr. RDR and Dr. Mohan?
RDR will go first.
Yes.
Mohan will go first.
Okay, Mohan will go first. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chitra, for the wonderful opportunity. And let me compliment Ramurthy for the wonderful 12 pearls, I would say. The pearls of wisdom, and that shows us all whatever experience he's got in running so many centers. Answering your question, Chitra, I think it's very important to do an introspection now and then. And that's what I think Ramurthy at the end of the lecture also said. The introspection is very, very important. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? That's very important for you to understand. And then don't put the money in all the gadgets, whatever technology is available. That is not what is going to get the return of investments. That also you have to do a proper study and then probably analyze that and then invest very intelligently according to that. So that is my take on this. And because many equipment, especially in ophthalmology, are becoming white elephants now. And the technology, you have to be technology up, you have to keep on upgrading. It doesn't mean that you have to buy all the equipment which is available in the market. So what is your core strength and what can you get the return on the investment, and what is your core area and core competent area? That alone you invest and probably do some introspection. Do something like a Dell survey to find out what exactly is the world ophthalmology is doing on this, and what is the customer feedback on this particular technology, and all these things you have to take in mind before you do investment in technology. That's my take on my 2 cents on that.
Dr. RDR?
Yeah, I mean, first of all,
Are you able to hear me?
yeah, you can hear me or?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, thanks Chitra for the opportunity and also congratulate Ramurthy for the excellent talk. I mean, he was very, very comprehensive. He covered everything, what is important to be relevant. And coming to your question is about technology. I think patients come to us essentially out of trust and faith. I think what kind of technology you choose and what kind of lenses or what you bring in, it's up to us. Because we want to, I mean, the bottom line is I think we need to meet the patient's expectations. That's where, Dr. Ramurthy's talk about, tracking the outcomes becomes very important. Earlier, it was okay to have, some of the spherical error, but later on, it is okay to have the correction for the presbyopia. But today, I think if you are able to meet all the objectives, like making the patient have good distant vision and also good near vision, that becomes expectation. So I think we need to meet the patient's expectation. That's what will build the trust of the patients. So, I mean, if that is the underlying principle, I think we will stay relevant to the organization also, to the practice. Yeah.
I have another question. I think Dr. Mahipal has got stuck in the management committee meeting. So I have my own questions to ask you all, and I would want you all to raise some important issues which can be discussed, because this is a podium where we have young leaders wanting to learn so much more. So one question to you, to both of you are there, and Dr. Ramurthy. Dr. Ajay Paul is there, no?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, he's there.
Usha is also there.
Huh?
Dr. Usha is also there.
Yes, Dr. Usha.
Usha.
Yes, Dr. Usha. I
Some
didn't realize.
problem with the audio, Chitra.
Rajan is there.
Some
My
problem with
audio
the
was,
audio.
has my audio gone bad? It was quite good
Your audio
earlier.
is
No?
fine. Your audio is fine.
Yeah.
We can hear you, ma'am.
So the one question is it, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear.
Is it good to concentrate on having one big setup and allowing a lot of smaller practices to refer to you? Or does it make sense to just expand and have multiple small centers? Now, this is how ophthalmology seems to be growing for some of us. But sometimes, you do certain things, and then afterwards there comes a hindsight which tells you that need not have been the only way of growing in ophthalmology. I would want the thoughts of Dr. R.D.R. Ramurthy, Dr. Mohan Rajan, and Dr. Usha Kim, and Anaghatu. Brief comments.
No. Just to go back to Dr. Ramurthy's talk, he started with the technology. He said, how hanging on to the old technology made some of the companies irrelevant. New companies came because the new companies were able to meet the customers' expectations. Okay, that's very important. So you need to be on the technology part. But subsequently, he also brought out other points. I mean, today he was talking about how Eye Foundation was able to stay relevant. When Aravind started in Coimbatore at that point of time, I don't think it's not only the LASIK you brought, but you brought in all the other subspecialties. You were able to cover all the age group. Whatever diseases were there in the ophthalmology, I think we were able to cover all of that. I mean, expanding all the specialty services, able to provide comprehensive services is very important. In addition to what Dr. Ramurthy really does well is tracking all the outcomes, making sure the patient gets the best outcome. So, I mean, that becomes very important from that point of view. Yeah, I'll just stop here.
Dr. Ravindran, what I mentioned was that it was extremely important for us that, we are multidimensional, we cover all.
Some problem with the audio.
Mohan, I think there's a problem in your audio.
We can hear
my audio.
Yeah, we can hear.
We can hear.
Oh, then I will.
Maybe rejoin. I think you'll be able to hear.
I'm not sure.
We can hear.
Sometimes there are echo. It's okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes.
No, the point I was trying to make, Dr. Ravindran, was, obviously you had a huge presence and you are known all over Tamil Nadu, and we expected that such a huge organization coming into Coimbatore, obviously all patients are going to flock there. We had these facilities, but having something extra, having something over and above, gave exposure to all our other facilities also. I also mentioned that, it's not just the refractive surgery patients who came to us, but it was also patients of diabetic retinopathy, cataract, even for simple refractive error. Simply because they realized that there was something more over here. To
Yeah.
begin with, we are the third center in India to get this. I was even getting patients from as far away as Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai for refractive surgery. That's not the kind of exposure I could have ever dreamt of way back at that time. It was simply because we could differentiate ourselves. So my message to the youngsters was that, sometimes we are wary of adapting to new technology. I always maintain that never be the first one to adapt to a new technology. For example, conductive keratoplasty just came and vanished. But at the same time, once it's mature, once there is enough demand for it, don't delay too long, because it's going to give you a
Ramu, no, I agree with you in all points. But one thing I wanted to joke is Ramu is an expert in retina. He was my senior in Shankar Nethralaya. Now he's become a refractive expert. Second, what he says is, I'm like a first time, what do you call that? First in India, first in whatever Asia. Like I had that thing when I was young only in 90. So I think there are some advantages of some technology like Biome. When everybody was objected to it, right from America to Germany where it was found. But I think I'm the pioneer in wide angle observation. So something like that, I think you also done. I think youngsters can take that risk. Only the problem is it's with money. You borrow bank loan and do that risk. But you have that advantage of first in India or first in your state. But you don't have to advertise that. But I think you can do that. Yes, Chitra, want to say something?
No,
Can I
I
just-
didn't get an answer to my question
Yes.
at all.
What is the question?
My question was that, we make some mistakes or the right things or the wrong things. Of course, RDR system is different. Like some of us have expanded into multiple centers. Does it make sense on a hindsight? You may be monetarily, you may keep growing on, but does it make sense to do that? Rather stay in one setup and ensure it grows in every possible way, because all your energies are focused on one
Chitra,
center.
so I have an answer for that. In
Yes.
2005, 4 or 5, I wanted to do 51 branches. So that was like my Kida. Every time my best friends were Shivanandan and Sushil Jivarajan, industrialists, they'll tell, where did you get this Kida? Why do you want to do 51 hospitals? But that time, I don't know why I wanted. But later they asked me, what is your aim? To make money? I said, no. I said, I want to do TQM. Whatever I know, I want in 51 hospitals. They said, no, it's not possible, because when you're going to take money for 51 hospitals, you'll spend time on calculating so many other numbers, that means money, and not the quality. So I'm now happy with all that ideas come back with a lot of doing camps with the multiple center. I have only one center. I know I will close down the Thana center, but everywhere they ask me to come. I don't know how Ramurthy is managing, or Dr. Ravindran's plan is different. So I felt that my core practice was vitreoretinal surgery, and I had total ophthalmology. So I'm concentrating that. I'm enjoying it. So I think again it's contentment. Like in case like Ramurthy has an idea of 12 hospital and he is doing successful, I think I salute him, because the headache is 12 times according to me. In with one hospital the same headache, and 12 hospitals 12 headache. And I think Dr. Adiyar, I remember when he took over as chairman, I asked him, one of my classmates, I wanted him to operate, and he said, I spent 2 months of working time in a year on management, he said. Same thing will happen if I had to do multiple hospitals. Like as a AOS president, I'm saying, I didn't concentrate on practice. Maipal called me a fool. He's saying you're wasting time and money. I said, no, I want to do that 1 year, as you said today, that you are working as chairman ARC. Luckily, the family is there. For me, nobody was there to look after the hospital, but anyway, hospital ran. I'm okay. So I think it will depend on individual. For example, Anaga is doing extremely well. And I actually admire her. So I go and learn from her. I go to her house, and I see how she's a great mother and mother of 2 brilliant children. I'm not joking, because she's managing as a wife, as a mother, as 2, and then plus the election, and then taking part in this. So I think each one is a different metal. But I think the lesson from Ramu's talk is that as an youngster, you should explore everything. And that Al Pacino says that the opportunity strikes in front of everybody, which is 6 inches in front of you, it's around you, side of you. But you have to use the opportunity and then come up in life. And I think again, it's each one's. I always had this argument with Amar also. Amar had now I think 94 hospitals, I think, and Maipal has 86, whatever. So I think I'm happy with my one hospital, and Amar is happy with it. Maybe he wants to improve more, number more. And I remember talking to Alka. She said, "I'm enough now. 55 Dwarka is the last she told me, 55 or 56." So I think the contentment, and second, whether are you able to achieve what you want. I think Ramu probably is achieved what he wants in 12 hospitals, and I am doing it in one hospital.
Coming to Chitra's question is very important because
Yes, doctor.
it's also important from the point of staying relevant, because the important aspect we need to address is the access.
Yes.
Access for the patient. If you're able to make access and affordability,
Yes.
you're going to get the volume. These two are very important.
Yes.
From that point of view, if, let's say if you're getting patients, a large number of patients from a different geographical area, and because your distance, where you are located, because of geographical location, there is an issue of access, then it is important that you open a hospital there. Like Debashis was making a point. So if he notices about 40, 50 patients coming from one area, then he said, no, you'll put up a hospital that will cater to 300, 400 people. I think addressing that access is important because it also addresses affordability.
Yes. Actually, this is the point which I wanted to be brought out.
Can I just answer the
Yes, Dr. Mohan. Yes, Dr. Mohan.
No. I think I would agree with both Ramurthy, Dr. Adar, and in fact, Nati also. It depends on your mindset. I feel that you should have one state-of-art eye center, like what we are having in Coimbatore, the Eye Foundation, of centers, which can cater to the primary and secondary care. The future is going to be that only. The future is going to be wherein the patients will not be able to commute for a very long distance because of corona pandemic. It's made the situation even worse. And I think you should have a lot of primary and secondary relevant in this industry for a longer period of time. Okay. So I will not agree with Nati that if you have centers, the quality will go down. You can have a quality control very, very nicely, very meticulously. You can follow the quality control. There's no way, because the quality control is all done at the top level. So it's very, very easy, not very difficult job to do the control of all the centers. You can do it in a very centralized format. You got fantastic EMR software for quality control. Everything is available now. I'm sure Ramurthy also will agree with me on that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohan. One small information to you. You have to take care of the sound at your point. You have 4 days ahead. The sound from you is not coming okay.
Is there some problem here with me?
At your end. You have to get it sorted out.
Chitra, we can hear him clearly. We can hear Mohan clearly.
We heard him. We have heard him.
Yeah.
I also heard him, but it kept coming in maybe some, I don't know.
Yeah.
For me also, your voice is coming like that only.
There's a problem bigger in the internet between Madras and Coimbatore, man.
No, it's end of the day. End of the day.
Bombay is clear for me.
What of your GBs? Okay.
Yes, Dr. Ajay and Dr. Anaga had something to tell.
Yes, ma'am. Amazing session. Actually, it is really so nice to hear everybody. And Dr. Ramurthy, sir, your talk was totally inspiring and motivating. Ma'am, I just wanted to answer a part of your question, since that was also probably relevant, regarding one big center or small multiple centers. What my take on this is, suppose you have a center, say around 10,000 or 12,000 square feet. Obviously, you would have those many patients, but there would come a time as your practice grows that there would be an infrastructure limitation, or your practice would not grow beyond a particular point.
Yes.
Definitely in the early years, the rate of growth will be definitely much higher, and then you would increase your practice and increase your infrastructure, take a bigger hospital. So there would be one single hospital. However, up to a certain point, beyond that, once it starts plateauing, then the next step is a decline, and that could be a slow decline. So unless you grow, so they say unless you run on a treadmill, you will not remain in the same place. So extrapolating that thought, either you increase your same infrastructure, or like they said earlier, if you have patients coming in from a far off area, then you could start reaching out to them. The only problem I feel here is the Keyman risk. which I wanted to ask Dr. Ramurthy sir. It is it's not so easy to start multiple centers because, as you rightly said, people ask for you. It is your name, it is your brand. So how do you manage your key man risks, sir? And how do you allow other people and how do the patients take it? That is what I'd like to know from you.
Actually, Doctor, right through, we have always been promoting the institution rather than the individual. For example, of course, these COVID times are different, but even earlier, I used to visit my other centers only once a month or once in 2 months. And even in my primary Coimbatore center, I must be seeing less than 1% of the patient who come in and maybe operating on 10% of the patients. So basically, it was always the patients were given to understand that there are people, my glaucoma specialist, my retina specialist, my oculoplasty, he is much better in his job, he or she is much better than what I am. Some senior people might insist on seeing me. I spend a couple of minutes with them, introduce them, but then put them on to the, and once they see the results, they accept. I strongly feel, it is a what limitation in our minds rather than the patient's acceptance. At the risk of shifting a little bit, I would like to make this point. Years back, Dr. Babu Rajendran, whom I respect and have the greatest regard, one of the most brilliant people I've come across, told me that a patient coming into his hospital, even if he needs epilation, it is done by him or by Dr. Janaki Raman. But on the other hand, he and Dr. Badrinath almost started their careers together. And I think both of them had the equal potential. And you can see the kind of growth that Dr. Badrinath had, the kind of institutions that he has built up and left behind. I is still having. And Dr. Babu Rajan was equally capable of doing it. But it was in his mindset that, he had to see each and every patient. That sort of limited his growth. It's no disrespect to Dr. Babu Rajan. I think he led a fantastic life full of accolades and achievements. But then I think as far as professional growth is concerned, that's what limited him. If you see Dr. RDR, if he insisted on seeing every patient, obviously they can't be where they are. I feel as far as you are confident of your juniors and if your associates and make your patients realize that they can give them, if not equal, better care, then I think your job is done.
No, Ramurthy.
One final word for the listeners is, please do not go away from this session thinking that you have to go back and build 10 hospitals. I think ophthalmology is just one aspect of your life. Just because we have a number of hospitals, Mohan or RDR or myself or Maipal are not more successful than you are. If you are enjoying life better, if you are enjoying the things that you are doing, and if you're enjoying your work also, as far as you find the right kind of work-life balance, then maybe you are in the right place.
That's what I want.
Touching upon that topic also.
That is what I said.
I want Dr. 1 minute, Dr. Natarajan. I wanted to hear from Dr. Ajay, who's in the younger generation, to give his thoughts too.
Very young generation.
No, we are not so old. Middle
No, we
generation.
are all the same generation. Well, it's again, as Dr. Nati said, Dr. Ramurthy said, it's all the mindset, what you have. See, we are a group practice. We developed into a group practice at a particular center. Then somewhere down the line, 10, 12 years back, we got some more group doctors. We put in another center, which was also a center of excellence, and everything was available there. Then we moved to recently, last year, we moved another group of doctors who came with us, and they moved into a third center. So we were into that, and there are still some peripheral centers with us. There are 2, 3 centers with us, which are doing for the lower end group of the patient, like as Dr. Ramurthy said, touching the whole spectrum of the patients. But definitely we specialize in that higher spectrum, but we do also have lower spectrum 3 centers. So, but then probably that was the mindset. We did not want to go in that big way. Both me and Partha were in that mindset. So we worked it that way, and I think we are not at the end of our career, but then we had our own success in our own way. That's the way we can explain.
Absolutely.
So, Natarajan, you had something to say. I need to hear from you.
Also, she's been
yes. No, I agree with Ramu and yes. What do you call with Ajay? I think it is an individual mindset. That's why my mindset was different. And I think as Ramu concluded fantastically saying that from this session, don't go and, so I only want to say, get points from all of us, including Arvind and Ajay, Mohan, and all of us here, Usha. And I think with that, I think each one should do their own. So I remember when I assisted Dr. Badrinath in when silicon oil was not used by him, he said, my mentor has been trained not to use silicon oil. Later, I don't know what happened to him. We questioned him, then he got Japanese colleagues, he learned silicon oil. Then he brought Jovanovic. So after that, I think this is the same thing I learned from him. You learn from your guru whatever you can, but after that, you do what you want, in the sense what is good for you. So I think that's what I think each youngster should know. All of us were young, and I remember Ramurthy bringing patients from Coimbatore to Tirupur to Madras for laser, and it was amazing. And Dr. Badrinath was taking patients to Dr. Agarwal's before he started this one. So I think all of us started with, I remember coming from Madras to Bombay, I thought we cannot start a private practice in Retina. And in 90, I was forced to, and I did it. But the only thing is you should do from your heart and not remember the mind. And I think that is important for individual. Because otherwise, the work-life balance, which is difficult to understand when you're starting a career. Ramu, am I right? I didn't understand this chartered accountant asking for questions and bank full asking me the EMI and then cash flow. In 90, I didn't understand anything. And I think plus it was a big problem. And now I know, and I think I can, running the company for 31 years, I know balance sheet. So I understand now EBITDA, everything. But I think the whole thing for the youngster is, first you should know you do a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats, then decide on this. And I think Anaga also gave an excellent point that when you have people coming from one particular place, then you can start a branch. So somehow mentally, I decided, for me, same problem happened. Everybody wanted me, and every place wanted a same ICG, FFA, and all that, which was a problem for me. Anyway, I don't know whether the grapes are so good. The lesson is that be contented, but you should do what you want. In the sense, I wanted to establish the best retina center, which I did. Even today, whatever the best OCT, angio, everything I get it. The rest of the branches, I tell them, you work and you buy, whether it's LASIK or oculoplasty.
I have a word from Dr. Usha. I think she has been wanting to say something for quite some time.
No, but I think I don't know which category I belong to, whether
you're a wonderful human being. No, Usha, wonderful human being.
Okay. So anyway, but I have taken a lot of points from each of the speaker, and let me start with Dr. Ramurthy, sir. He said he was a little apprehensive. He wasn't saying that he was scared. He was apprehensive about having a unit started in Coimbatore or having Arvind come into the existence when he had a practice. Well, I don't want to go take it to such a large scale. I'm just looking at the tea shops, which are prolific. We have tea served at home also, but we have tea shops going all over.
Usha, I just thought I was slightly better than a tea shop.
No. I'm just saying it, sir. Everybody has a place to survive, and everybody has a place to provide something better than the other person. Like we all know that there is a particular shop where we would want to go get a particular item. So we know where to go and how we get treated. And I don't want to equate us with the tea shop, but I'm just saying, even if a tea shop is so prolific and is able to give products to convince people, and I think we are talking big names and big jargons now. The second point I wanted to tell was, I'm just taking the tips from you all, sir, is you said a competition. You need to have a competition. Well, I would say we need to have a competition for ourselves. You rightly put it. Last year I did so much. What am I doing this year? Yes, your own competition. You need to escalate yourself, and feeling good about what you have done doesn't take us anywhere, doesn't help us progress. Wherever it be, whether it is in the home front or in the profession, I think we need to be progressive. And the only way to progress is to be escalating ourselves in many different ways, be it academics, equipments, instruments, whatever. And saturation doesn't help us at all to be progressive unless your vision is very narrow. And the last thing which I'd like to talk about is Dr. RDR. Well, somebody was saying, how can we scale up if we are the only ones wanted? Actually, Dr. RDR is a very virulent surgeon. He was an excellent surgeon and he has taught many, many people. And one good quality that I've seen in him is, if there was a specific question, even in cataract, which he is renowned for, he would always be inclusive. He would call people and ask for opinions. That's something which I've learned from him. As a leader, I think the inclusiveness creates more leaders.
Absolutely.
That is one thing that we need to learn from all these leaders who've spoken to us, and every one of you. Thank you. I don't belong to that category, but I just want to highlight the tips to the youngsters who are along with me in the.
Okay, Usha, I am proud to say.
You're a leader.
No, I am proud to say we both are from Tenkasi. And we are both from the same batch, me and RDR.
Okay, sir, I'll give you the credit for the nativity, but then.
I mentioned before the same, when I requested him to operate my classmate, same thing he told. He says, I actually want to be busy with so many things. Other doctors are good. But I said, this is my request because he's insisting you have to do. And I said, please do it. So I think he's a great surgeon, and I think right from his college days, I think he's such a simple, he's like another Dr. V avatar.
Sir, one more last point, Dr. Chitra, on work-life balance is a totally different topic. The best article to read is Carol Shields' article in IJO. Please go through it. Every youngster should definitely go through this article. She's living a complete life. I think we all should learn from that article how they've led a life, how they are still leading a life.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Chitra, you're muted.
Very much, a very good expert panel who stayed with us. And although we did not have one of our speakers joining in, Ramurthy, Dr. Natarajan, Dr. Mohan Rajan, Dr. RDR, thanks a lot, Dr. Usha and Dr. Ajay Paul, and my very good moderator, Anagha, to have kept this session going for that extra half an hour without us feeling any lacuna.